Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is gonna be a little different. I have been wanting to do something and I've been wanting to share this for a while now, and it's about how to pronounce some of our favorite stationery brand names correctly. Now, I just want to be really clear about this. This isn't about being a know-it-all or gatekeeping how we say things, because I've definitely mispronounced a few of these myself in the past. But as someone who truly loves and appreciates the brands that we all use, I thought it would be fun and respectful to take the time to learn and share the proper pronunciations, especially for beautiful Japanese, Korean, and even the German names that we see so often. So think of this as a love letter to the brands that bring us joy and a little homework that I did as a fellow content creator and a fellow stationery nerd. So let's geek out together, join me, and let's try to learn a thing or two. No pressure, no judgment, just fun. So let's get right into it. Okay, I have a couple of stationery here at the desk. Some of these things we're gonna learn how to pronounce correctly, but just as a caveat, if there are any native speakers of Japanese, Korean, German, and French who are watching this video, I'm not gonna be perfect in pronouncing some of these brands, but I'm gonna try my best because I did a little bit of research and a little bit of Google translating to find out the correct way to pronounce things. So I don't want to ramble too much about that one. So let's start with the first one, which is this bullet journal hardbound notebook from Leuchtturm. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's a German brand that means lighthouse, so Leuchtturm. So my sister, if you are watching, I rehearsed saying this word so many times, but every time I try to ask her how to pronounce it well, she always has to correct me. I'm gonna try my best, so it's Leuchtturm. In other videos, I've been hearing different people say different things like Leuchtturm, Leuchtturm. I think it's because, we're not Germans and we're not studying the language. That's why it's a little bit difficult to pronounce. Sometimes I get a little weirded out when I hear Leuchtturm because it's so off. And this is not a shade to any of the planner YouTubers who have pronounced this before. I just am trying to share an opinion or sharing my experience going through videos in other content pronouncing this brand name. But yeah, that is Leuchtturm. The next brand that I want to talk about is still from the brand name Leuchtturm, and this is their gel ballpoint pen called Drehgriffel, and in German it means rotary handle. So very aptly named for this gel ballpoint pen is because you have to twist the bottom part of the pen to have the point out, the ballpoint part of the pen out. So I think it's really aptly named. All right, the next one is another German brand, and this is very famous in the planning and journaling community, and most especially with the fountain pen community. This is a Kaweco fountain pen. This is the Sport, Kaweco Sport. I've heard other people say Kaweco in German. I just want to put it out there that I'm not studying German, but I do know that their W is pronounced as a V. That's why when you say the car name or the car brand Volkswagen, it's not Volkswagen, it's Volkswagen. So the W is pronounced as V. So when you say Kaweco, it's actually incorrect. It's not Kaweco, it's Kaweco. I think it's because a lot of people in the community are from the US, and I am not trying to shade anybody with their pronunciations. Again, I hope that you don't take offense because this is just something that I really want to do out of respect and out of love for this hobby. So I think most of the things that I've been hearing on YouTube or listening in other social channels is the mispronunciation, because most of us, I think, who are non-native speakers would tend to approach pronunciation with the way things are written. So I think that's understandable. The next item I wanted to discuss is something that I do not have. I don't have this item because I have not bought it, but this is a stationery item. It's actually a Techo cover that was released by Hobonichi, and it's the Hobonichi Tragen. And it's actually a German brand again. It means to carry. So it's not pronounced as Tragen, as I've heard other people say. So it is pronounced as Tragen. Okay, the next item that I wanted to talk about, let's go from the German brands to the Japanese brands. So let's go next with this one. I'm sure for all of you planners and journalers and the very steadfast Hobonichi stands, you know what this is. This is an A6 Hobonichi notebook, but the cover is what I wanted to discuss. This is a Makino Tomitaro cover from Hobonichi. So Makino Tomitaro is considered as the father of Japanese botany. Very aptly so that Hobonichi wanted to honor this famous Japanese botanist in their notebook covers. I have been seeing other people or like listen or watched other people say Tomitaro Makino. I think it's difficult to sometimes know where the stress or the intonation on Japanese syllables are. So that's why I can understand why other people would put the stress in the wrong syllable. But per research, it is Tomitaro Makino or Makino Tomitaro. When I researched it, usually the Japanese will say the last name first and then the first name. So it's Makino Tomitaro. Okay, we go to the next brand, and for those planner enthusiasts, you know what this is. This is the Jibun Techo. In my experience, I have heard people say Jibun Techo. Jibun Techo means my planner, or literally self-planner, because the Japanese word jibun means myself, oneself, and of course, as everybody knows, techo means notebook or planner. Jibun Techo means it's a planner that is designed to be personalized to suit your own life and style. So I think Kakuno really named their planner very well, because this is, for many of us, our planners are very personal, and what better way to describe a planner as my planner, Jibun Techo. The next Japanese item that I wanted to talk about, again, I don't have this item, but it's the Fudenosuke. It's a type of brush pen made by the stationery brand Tombow, and I have heard other people pronounce it Fudenosuke. So again, I think it's because of the way English speakers pronounce it, but for the Japanese, again, it's pronounced syllabically, so it's Fudenosuke. Again, I think it's very different when you say Fudenosuke, because the su and the ke, right? The Fudeno and then suke, you don't say Fudenosuke, you say Fudenosuke. I'm not sure, maybe the Japanese speakers or those who are learning Japanese could help to explain why the U in suke in su is not pronounced. I just try to think of it like in Naruto, Sasuke is pronounced as Sasuke, not Sasuke. So that's just my guiding point. So Fudenosuke. So the meaning of Fudenosuke, so let's try to dissect the name. So Fude means brush, and then nosuke is a classical male name suffix that implies helper or assistant. So when put together, Fudenosuke translates to brush assistant. So very, very apt. The Japanese are such geniuses in, naming their products that way. The next Japanese brand that we're going to talk about is this one. This is the Pilot Kakuno. Other people have said Kakuno. Again, it's probably the English way of saying it, but in Japanese, it is pronounced as Kakuno. So the Kakuno means to write, from the word kaku, and then no as a nominalizer. So Kakuno literally means for writing or write. Very simple, very straightforward. So this is a brand that everybody loves. I love it myself, and I got the Kakuno in the Madoromi series, this particular color, and I love it so much. It's always within my pen rotation. And for those of you who are thinking about getting into fountain pens, while it's a very steep slope to get into, I would highly recommend getting the Kakuno as your beginner fountain pen. And another Japanese brand that I do have, that I do believe almost everybody knows how to pronounce correctly, is the Stalogy. So Stalogy is a combination of the word stationery and technology, so Stalogy. So it is produced by the Kakuno Group, the Japanese company that also develops a couple of industrial materials that have really influenced the high-tech paper behind this notebook brand and adhesive quality of their products. I've heard a couple of YouTube creators say Stalogy. I think they might have misread it, but how do you say stationery and technology? So Stalogy, so Stalogy. I'm not sure, but it is pronounced as Stalogy. So I think this one is very easy to pronounce. It's hard to mess it up. Japanese brand that I don't have in my possession right now. I do have this brand, but it's not here on the table. It's a Midori brand. For those of you who love traveler's notebooks, the codexes, the stickers, and all of the other stationery paraphernalia, it is pronounced as Midori, not Midori. Again, it's probably with the stress. Where do you put the stress in the syllable in Japanese words? So sometimes it's difficult to determine that. Sometimes I would need to look it up myself, but it is pronounced as Midori. And there are a couple of other YouTube creators that I'm really happy that they do pronounce it really well. And for those of you, I think a lot of us watch the videos of Jet Pens all the time. The Jet Pens team know how to pronounce their brands and their stationery products really well. They do a lot of research about it, and they do place a lot of respect in the brands that they carry. So I suggest, if you haven't yet, you go to Jet Pens and watch their videos so they know how to pronounce Leuchtturm, all of these things. And even Midori, they know how to pronounce it really well. So it's not something that should be taken against other people, but I think for a lot of people, they pronounce it as Midori, but it is pronounced as Midori. And then another Japanese brand that I do not have, it's from Hobonichi. It's the Hobonichi Hon. So the Hon in Japanese means book. And I have heard other people say hone, like the H-O-N-E. I think, yeah, of course you would pronounce hone, to hone one's skills that way. But since it's a Japanese word, I think we ought to probably try to figure out how to pronounce these things. I've heard other people say Hobonichi Hone. I think it's really just a matter of how English speakers pronounce Japanese names. But for myself, who creates these videos for other people, I want to make sure that I pay respect. So I have looked it up. It is pronounced as Hon. And Hon in Japanese means book. It's very curious. It's a Hobonichi Hon Techo. It's a book planner or book notebook. Very strange. And other people, because they cannot pronounce Hon, they just spell out H-O-N, but it's not an acronym. It is Hon. Now we go to the only Chinese brand that I do know and that I do have several of their products. This is the Hongdian fountain pen. And the one that I'm showing you right now is let me just look it up, but this is the Hongdian C3. I've heard other people say Hongdian. It is pronounced as Hongdian. And it's a Chinese fountain pen brand that is known for being affordable, well-built, and stylish. And I 100% agree. When I first purchased my Hongdian pen, this is not the first Hongdian that I own, but the first time that I did buy one and tried one for myself, I was really amazed at the quality of the writing experience. Then their nibs are really great. They write so smooth right off the box. The stylishness of their pens are really something to write home about, and I really love the affordability. And now let us go to Korea. I have in my hand this wonderful ink brand. For some people, they pronounce it as Wearingeul. Research the brand name. It is like an amalgamation of the words wearing, which is to wear something, and the Korean grammar ol. It is a particle used for direct objects, which is often attached to nouns. The name itself means wearing words or wearing literature because, as you know, this brand names their inks out of really famous literature. And I would pronounce this as Wearingeul because the last syllable, E-U-L, is pronounced as ol. in Korean. And the last brand that we're gonna pronounce today, we're gonna try to pronounce, is from France, and it's Jacques Herbin. Please, native French speakers, I hope that I'm not massacring your language, but according to Google Translate, is Jacques Herbin. Other people, I think most of the people would pronounce it well. Not the French way, because I know that French people have really lovely accent. I love the way French people speak, but don't tell my Italian husband. But their accent is really, I don't know, very sophisticated. I love listening to French people speak, but when I try to attempt how to speak with their accent, it's really pathetic. So I tried my very best to pronounce Jacques Herbin several times. The same way that I tried to pronounce Leuchtturm, I tried to practice it several times to get each syllable rolling off my tongue. But Jacques Herbin. I think other people pronounce, I've heard other people say Urban, but I think that's a very like American way of saying it. I think that's fine. Instead of saying it as Herbin, that's more atrocious. It's more scandalous to say Herbin. No, that's very disrespectful. So I think Urban is okay. It's okay. It's you're not trying to be disrespectful. You do try to pronounce it, but I think it's really just the American accent that's giving it that kind of sound, but it's fine. Jacques. And that is it for today's pronunciation deep dive. I hope you found it as fun and interesting as I did. Again, this isn't about being perfect or correcting anyone. I really just wanted to have a small way to honor the brands that we love and use every day. So whether you've been saying these names differently or already had them down, so what really matters, I guess, for me is that we're enjoying the tools that inspire us to create and stay organized. So I really want to thank you for your time, and if you like this kind of content, let me know in the comments or share how you pronounce these names, especially if you're a native speaker. Please do help us to understand how to pronounce this properly, because for me as a creator, this is really important to me. So I would really honestly love to learn more. So thanks for watching, and as always, happy journaling, happy planning, and I'll see you in the next one.